and welcome back to our online course Building Cost Estimation Simplified. In today's video lesson, we will be learning about specifications. Now, specifications are an integral part of any construction document. These are the written descriptions that accompany the drawings, and these give an idea of the kind of materials that are to be used, what is the yield of the material that is expected, what are the qualities that we expect. It also talks about, or it gives description about the workmanship that is expected, about the warranties that are expected. So in totality, specifications give the technical details that are required in a project. Sometimes drawings do carry technical details in themselves, but sometimes it would be easier to use specifications to communicate technical details more effectively. Specifications are very important in that they have legal implications in the future, and for this reason we have to take utmost care while drafting the specifications. In today's video lesson, we will be learning about the different types of specifications, what are the factors that are to be considered while we draft specifications, what are the good practices while we write specifications. Let's move on with the video lesson. In order to understand specifications, it is important for us to understand their role in the context of contract documents. So what are the contract documents? Contract documents consist of owner contract agreement, the general conditions of the contract, supplementary general conditions, the working drawings, specifications, addenda incorporated in the documents before their execution. All these documents become part of the contract. Now, all these documents are to be read together for the purpose of contract interpretation, because each of these give meaning to each other and serve a particular purpose. Now, to understand and to convey a clear understanding of the work that is to be done through the specification, it is necessary to prepare complete and accurate specifications and also to supplement it with accurate drawings. Both specifications and drawings are complementary to each other and may even be incomplete without the other. So it is important to give utmost care while preparing specifications, because the specifications do have legal implications, and in order to avoid expensive litigation later on, we need to be very thorough in the way we draft the specifications and the way we communicate technical information to all the parties involved. So what are specifications? Specifications are written descriptions which accompany and supplement the drawings. It consists of description of materials, construction systems, and workmanship. The purpose of the specification is to define the quality of materials and the required results of the construction methods applied. Now, specifications are written instructions which accompany and supplement the plans and drawings. Let's look at the components of specifications. So the specifications talk about the type of materials required, the standards that they need to adhere to, method that must be used to obtain the specified result. We know that drawings provide information regarding how the structure is to be constructed or installed, and the specifications give information about the quality of materials, workmanship, and other technical requirements. For example, differentiating Portland cement and pozzolana cement is done better by communicating it through specifications rather than through drawings. If we need to communicate the quality of bricks, which is normally assessed by the strength and finish, this can be better communicated through specifications instead of drawings. An example would be when we mention a particular curing system for brick, whether it is water cure or steam cure. So the specifications and drawings together form the guide for standard of performance which are to be met while executing a project. Drawings provide technical information, while specifications, in addition to technical information, also communicate legal implications. Now, the broad categories of specification are obligatory requirements, recommendatory requirements, and information requirements. So the obligatory clause, they are both general and specific in nature. General would be, for example, would be the finishes for the building external and internal, the lap length for tying reinforcement steel, cover to be provided for steel reinforcement before casting, etc. The other is that we have specific requirements. So as we saw, general deals with common requirement applicable to the subject as a whole, and specific, it covers a particular attribute or requirement for a particular purpose. Now, example of specific requirement would be because they are related to matters which are specific to various factors, which are very unique to that project. Sometimes specific requirements could be may not be common throughout different projects. For example, factors like the ground soil conditions. For example, if the subsoil has sulfate and chloride, we may have to go for epoxy coated steel. Or if the subsoil has corrosive properties, then we might have to add corrosion inhibitors. So we see that specific requirements are related to specific conditions of a project. Next is the recommendatory clause. These are clauses dealing with requirement of non-obligatory character, conformance to which is left to the contracting parties. Again, these may be general or specific in character. So this could be based on an understanding between both the parties, like the supplier may be asked to furnish additional information as may be required by the purchaser. So these are examples of recommendatory clauses. Informative clause. Such clauses are inserted in specifications and are neither obligatory nor optional in character, but are helpful in selecting an alternate material to meet the specification. These clauses again could be either general or specific. The sampling clause. In case of any specification for a product, apart from specification for materials, workmanship, performance, etc., a sampling and inspection clause is added to help determine the lot size. Apart from the specifications for materials, there should be a sampling and inspection clause to give guidance in determining the lot size. Sampling clauses describe the following. The definition of lot. The final quality depends on the lot size and permissible defectives. When a certain quality objective is desired, it is necessary to specify the lot size at the same time. Method of selection of samples from the lot. When a certain method is specified, it also reduces the areas of possible conflict between the parties. The number of tests. Number of tests and number of samples to be tested are to be specified to reduce ambiguities and possible conflicts. Criteria for acceptance. What criteria for acceptance, including the method of interpretation of test results, are to be used on a project? Is the criteria one where we do not allow any defects, no defects, or defects are allowed based on designs and specifications? These are to be specified under the sampling clause. Reports. How are the reports to be framed and how are they to be interpreted? These also have to be clarified. The test methods. Test methods may be included in the clause or may be referred to by relevant IS codes. Protection. Wherever necessary, there should be specification about protection of product during storage, etc. For example, if we have an aluminum frame that is to be used, it needs to be protected by taping or lacquer paint to avoid scratches, and these have to be specified in the specifications so that there is adequate care taken for the materials that are used. So let's recapitulate the sampling clause. The definition of lot, method of selection of samples from the lot, number of tests, criteria for acceptance, reports, test methods, and protection. Types of specifications: A. General specification and B. Technical specification. Under this we have material specification, workman specification, workmanship specification and performance specification. A general specification is one which gives general directions. Technical specifications are written for the purposes of purchases or for works. The technical specifications contain the detailed information necessary to obtain the desired quality and service in the finished products. Separate technical specifications are normally devoted to each type of construction trade, such as earthwork, concrete work, reinforced concrete work, woodwork, steelwork, etc. In general, the specification should follow as closely as possible the sequence of construction operations, which means the specifications begin with the specifications that are laid out for the foundation, and this would often be preceded by site clearance, setting out, and earthwork. So usually the flow of construction is followed while writing the specifications also. Now, writing of the technical specifications must be coordinated closely with the preparation of designs and drawings. It is a good practice as the designs and the drawings progress. It's a good practice to prepare an outline of the items of work that is to be covered and to write the technical specifications concurrently. In making the outline of specifications, the complete work must be analyzed carefully and all items and processes are to be noted beforehand. Now we'll look at the broad categories of the specifications. The technical specifications are broadly of three categories: Type 1, Type 2 and Type 3. Now when we write specifications, we don't mention whether it is of Type 1, Type 2 or Type 3. This is for a general understanding. For example, if we are mentioning the property of a material, like about brickwork, we will be talking about the way it is cured, and then we'll talk about the finish, whether it is rough finish or smooth finish. So that's the way we will be drafting specifications. So the Type 1 specification, in this contractor is to follow the specifications to procure the material and labor. So these specifications are laid out in the tender, and it is the responsibility of the contractor to follow it to procure the material and labor. Now, Type 2 technical specifications, this is based on the overall performance of the finished product. When desired operating characteristics can be measured by tests, this form of specification can be adopted. These specifications, often based on performance, are used for equipment and machinery like pumps, air-conditioned plants, etc. However, performance tests are not necessarily indicative of the life of a particular equipment or a machinery. Hence, it is customary that the contractor gives a warranty for the durability and the absence of defects in materials and workmanship. Technical specifications Type 3. These type of specifications are drafted when construction is based on selection of proprietary and standard brands in the market. A clause may be inserted to choose between two or more brands or equivalent, giving freedom to the contractor to choose one. Now, the selection of materials and drafting the specifications require considerable depth of knowledge in material sciences and technology. We specify not only the physical and chemical properties, but also the durability, the workmanship and performance of the material that we use. When we write these specifications, often they can be lengthy, but care should be taken to avoid irrelevant information. Now let's look at the general outline of specification. The general outline that a specification would follow would be, first of all, we would give a general description. In this, the owner will have to give detailed description of the site where the installation is to happen or where the execution of the work is to take place, and the owner will have to give different details like the location, the road conditions of in the vicinity, whether it is conducive to loading and unloading, etc., whether smooth transportation is possible, the information regarding the correct latitude, longitude, the rainfall, wind conditions, wind directions, humidity, temperatures, etc. have to be given. The basic idea is that the contractor who goes through the document should have as much as data possible about the conditions of the site so as to be able to give a realistic quote. Whenever there is an assumption that is to be made, there is a likelihood that a quote will be higher than what is reasonable or what is necessary. Now, the design and installation. The instruction to the that are given in the tender should be very clear as to what is the installation, how it will be taking place, what are the instructions, whether power is available on the site, whether there is water connection or water connection available on the site, and are there any obstructions, are there any security considerations. These have to be communicated right in the contract documents so that there are no disputes later on. Now, the operating conditions, we also need to make clear the conditions under which the particular equipment or the project has to be executed. If it is an equipment that is to be operated, if there are chances of failures or if there are any other factors that will affect the smooth functioning of the machinery or the project, that needs to be clarified to the person who is intending to purchase the tender and apply for the project. The performance requirement, the parameters of performance have to be specific. If there are tolerances, that have to be communicated. Penalties and acceptance criteria are also to be communicated in a specific manner. The special requirements as to quality, there would be different processes in a particular construction project, and we need to specify the accepted the quality that are required in each stage so that the following stage is able to maintain the quality standards of the preceding stages. So these have to be the quality and compatibility, or if there are any special requirements for the same, these need to be communicated. Inspection, tests and warranty. The contractor is liable to give warranty to the owner for some items of work, for example, waterproofing, etc. There is a particular warranty that the contractor has to undertake and to give. Now, while writing specifications for materials, we usually follow the following format. We write about the physical properties such as the strength of the material in compression, tension, and shear, the modulus of elasticity, durability, hardness, and ductility. These are specified under the physical properties. Next is the chemical properties. The chemical composition of materials may be specified for clarity and preciseness. In materials like steel, there can be many varieties which may look alike, and the physical properties may be very similar to each other. Any confusion arising can be resolved by specifying the chemical composition. Other properties, there are other properties like electrical resistance, thermal properties, acoustic properties, which may have to be specified. Appearance. The specification should also include specifications of properties like color, texture, patterns, etc. The transportation, handling and storage. Many of the materials require very careful transportation, handling and storage. For example, glass and cement, they have to be handled very carefully while transporting and storing. For example, cement, we have to specify how they are to be packed in bags and specify the kind of bags that we use for packing cements. Then we also have to make descriptions about how we stack and storage cement. We mentioned that cement have to be stored in bags in dry and waterproof conditions, and then how they have to be stacked with usually with uh, rows with 10 centimeters to 20 centimeters clearance above the floor, or there should be uh, provisions to avoid water or moisture um, penetration into the cement that is stored. And even during the inspection, test and analysis, the specification should be clear and specific about the inspections. The inspections, whether it has to be carried out at the place of manufacture or whether it has to be done on site, especially when there are equipments and machineries which have to be assembled, dismantled, and reassembled at the site. So these have to be specified um, in our specifications and in our contract. Now we move on to the specifications for workmanship. Now, writing of specification for construction requires knowledge of construction methods and knowledge of standard of workmanship that is really attainable. The standard laid down will have to take into consideration the availability of various materials and labor. If material or skilled labor is not available in the site of the project or even in the vicinity, there is a likelihood that the cost of the construction may go up, and so accordingly such specifications have to be drafted, ensuring that the material that is specified and the skills of workmanship required is actually available. While writing such specifications, some of the guidelines which are to be used are given below. Now, specification for workmanship, we need to specify the results desired in quality of workmanship and finish. State any detailed construction method or process needed for accomplishment for a particular purpose. Stipulate any limitation or restriction in the interest of works. For example, in the excavation of hard rock, if blasting is prohibited, then the rock shall be excavated by mechanical means using JCB excavator, etc. We need to stipulate any protection needs that are to be followed. We need to also mention the method of inspection and tests that are to be followed. These are the specifications for workmanship. So we saw what are the ways of writing specifications, and now we look at what are to be avoided while writing a specification. We need to avoid indefinite specification. An example of an indefinite specification would be RCC M15 will be considered equivalent to 1:2:4 volumetric mix. Now, there can be a doubt whether volume so specified, 2:4, is a heaped volume, tamped volume, or any other means of measuring volume. Now, another example would be in a clause relating to substandard work, a specification may say that if the work is not in accordance with the specifications laid down, the engineer in charge is empowered to make such a reduction in the contract as he or she may determine, and such determination shall be final and conclusive against the contractor. The problem in such a clause is that the methodology of working out the reduction or rate by the engineer in charge has not been specified. Now, this creates a lot of confusion, and so we need to avoid such indefinite specifications. The next factor to be avoided while we write a specification is the indeterminate specifications. In many contracts, the specification may say that the work shall be carried out as directed by the engineer in charge to his or her satisfaction. Now, this is again something that cannot be known during the bidding or before the bidding, and so such specifications are also to be avoided. Next is ambiguous specification. Ambiguous specifications are ones which cannot be reasonably enforced except under particular and peculiar circumstances, and we need to avoid such specifications. Now, specifications with unnecessary severity. While writing specifications for material or workmanship, it is a good practice that what is required only should be stated. It is not desirable to make requirements too severe or too unusual. For example, a clause that says that all works which are not up to the mark shall be rejected and even dismantled would be a difficult clause to put into execution in actual practice. Now, we need to avoid arbitrary specifications while writing a specification. For example, while it is necessary for the engineer in charge to be able to exercise control over the work for its proper performance and completion, it is unwise to exercise unnecessary and arbitrary control. So, clauses which may include arbitrary control or by an individual or any party, that has to be avoided. That's not a good practice for writing a specification. With this, we have come to the end of our video lesson. Let's summarize what we learned today. In today's video lesson, we learned about the importance of specification in an estimate. We saw what is the definition of a specification and what are the relevances of specifications. Then we also saw the types of specification and also the good practices while drafting specifications and what are the practices that are to be avoided while writing specifications.